commission from that transaction.
Oh,
So if that commission is 3%, I would be entitled to getting $15,000 just for buying the $500,000 property.
and that's as an investor or as a
That's-
realtor?
That's as an investor who's licensed as an agent. Okay,
Okay.
so if you're going to invest in real estate, you do not need to take customers out because you have a real estate license. You can choose to have a real estate license and do transactions just for yourself and just have your regular job, but you have your license for yourself and you peruse the market at your leisure. And when you find something, you make an offer on that property, it gets accepted. At the end of the transaction, you get compensated for buying that property.
Mm. See, I
And
always thought people were saying that you can't be licensed as a realtor and as an investor because you can't do your own transactions. That's why.
that's absolutely not true.
Oh, okay. Well, you don't
As
tell
a-
me something different.
As a matter of fact, you can even use your commission as your down payment.
Oh,
So
I like that. See,
it's-
I mean, serious, because in the 5 years that I've done, it looked into both, where I got already to get my realtor license, I was told, well, don't do it, dude. You'd be better off doing it as an investor. So that's why I stopped as far as trying to be doing it as a realtor. Because see, but nobody never told me that part right there, that little nugget right there.
So the trick about this stuff is that, particularly for me, I always get paid when I buy and I get paid when I sell.
That makes sense. That's yeah, that makes sense.
Yes,
I don't know nobody that wouldn't want to do it that way. You get
I
paid.
know, right? And it
Yes.
only costs like $300 or $400 to get your license. But once you have that license and everything is straight, and you can even have an errors and omission as part of your business, so that if there's any kind of flaw, issues, complaint, whatever, it gets covered by an insurance company because you're a professional. And you have additional expense that you can write off because you're a professional in the field as well. There's a lot of advantage of it apart from just getting it. But the other thing is that you learn a lot of things as well in that class.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I'm on here tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, good evening, everybody.
Hello.
It is time to get started. I'm getting messages saying it's time to get started. So I'm going to mute everybody. And then, thank you, Hector. Awesome. So I'm going to mute everybody and I'm going to switch over to the PowerPoint. And then we're going to get started. I'll try my very best not to keep you guys longer than the time promised. And please make sure there is Q&A section and chat section. So make sure that you guys hit those things. If you have any questions or any comments, thoughts, whatever, we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to try my very best not to follow the PowerPoint to the letter, because I see there's a lot of misconceptions and misunderstanding in this thing. So we can talk about some of those things. All right. Let me share my screen for a second. So, good evening, everybody. My name is Marouane Bah, and today we're going to talk about how to earn $10,000 passive income while you are enjoying life. Yes, this is me in vacation. So is it hard to create wealth in today's America? You know, can you save yourself to wealth with interest rates that are paying like 1 or 2%, inflation at a 40-year high, oil prices at like $4 or $5, OPEC is like decreasing their production, there's threat of war, Russia, Ukraine, Taiwan, China, the dollar is like, I mean, if you have a lot of dollar right now, it's the best time to go to Europe on vacation kind of thing. Obviously, there's global warming, there's natural disaster in Florida for my friend there. There's issues in California with Oh man, so it's very challenging right now. But in spite of all of these things, I believe that there's never been a better time to invest in real estate. It's when there are chaos on the street that you want to take advantage. And everybody right now is fearing the interest rate going up, prices are reducing on the market. Is it the right time to buy? Is it not? Is there an inflation that is going to hit that's higher? Is there a recession that's coming? All these things are happening. So my name is Marouane Bah. I'm a real estate investor. I'm a real estate educator. I'm actually licensed to teach people how to do real estate from the state of Massachusetts. We've offered courses in New England, Mid-Atlantic, and overseas as investors goes, not licensing, but investors goes. I was an 8-year US Marine. Yes, that's me right there with the chicken. What can I say? And it's my experience through the military that kind of like drove me into getting into real estate. If you are familiar with military lifestyle, they tell you what time to wake up, what time to sleep, what time to eat, what do you do in between. Some movies even have depiction of saying, I didn't give you orders to die yet. So they tell you when to die and when not to die kind of scenario. So when I was out of the military, I never wanted to work for anyone else in my life. And I spent a lot of time researching on figuring out what I could do in life that would give me the freedom that I'm looking for. So I bought my first house at the age of 19, and I saw how much my real estate agent made. And I said to myself, maybe I should get my real estate license. So I do have a degree from Harvard, Georgetown. I have a professional certificate from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And I've been teaching real estate again for almost 20 years, if not a little bit more, in Boston, Massachusetts. So since I am not a certified public accountant and I'm not an attorney, this is not legal advice. So all of this information is for educational purpose. It does not mean that just simply because I teach this thing that you are going to reach those goals. Obviously, it depends on your motivation, the bank account, and the things that you have going on in your life. Past results are not indicative of future performance. So make sure that whatever you do, consult an attorney, consult a CPA, and make sure that you are on the right track. So why real estate? Real estate is one of those God-created thing, if you are religious, that we can't make any more of, that it's not happening, right? I mean, unless there's a volcano that erupts and it takes millions of years for that to become traditionally what we call livable earth, they're not making it anymore. It's vital to survival, food, air, water, those kinds of things. Land is the same, that much, it's that valuable, right? Historically, it hedges inflation, so it goes up as money goes down. If you are familiar with what inflation is the devaluation of the currency, where it takes more to buy the exact same thing. So other thing that real estate does is it provides you with passive residual cash flow. Real estate is the capture of the residual of an economy. Being the real estate owner, you capture everything extra that the economy creates. Think about that for a second. If I have a property and that property is in a good location, the highest rent, the highest paying tenant will be the one that rents my property. That means that whatever extra, I'm the one that's capturing it, not him. What should you invest? You can invest in single family, multifamily, commercial, industrial. Doesn't matter. You can invest in land as long as you're investing in it. Now, obviously, there are certain things you can invest that would perform a lot better than the others. But as long as you're investing in real estate, because they're not making any more, you're doing 100 times better than the ones that is not investing. And there's many ways that you can invest in real estate. And we're going to talk about some of those things in a second. For example, you can buy and hold a property. For example, in Massachusetts, in order for me to reach a $10,000 passive income, I need to own 3 to 5 property, because the average rent is $4,000. The average mortgage is about $1,500 to $2,000, depending on the price point and the interest rate of that property. You can do short-term rentals like Airbnbs, VRBOs, and things like that. Airbnb tend to be for the rooms, VRBO tends to be for the whole property, but you can do that. You can house hack. Simply means that you buy a property, you live in one of the rooms, you rent the other rooms out. You can do options. Option is better known as wholesaling. Wholesaling is where I enter into a contract to buy a property in the future, but I take that contract and I sell it to a second person. That person now has an obligation or has the right to sell to the seller, or actually to buy from the seller, and the seller has an obligation to sell to the person that holds the contract. That's the concept of wholesaling or option. So it's basically contract flipping. Then, of course, there's the joint venture. You're not an expert, you don't want to do real estate, you're not interested in it, but you have the capital. You can find a partner, pull your money into it, create an LLC, have your name as part of the LLC, and then that general partner will do the transaction. You, the limited partner, will wait for the project to be completed, and then you'll recall your investments. Of course, there's the syndication world, where most people are familiar. Syndications are for accredited investors. Accredited investors is deemed by the Securities and Exchange Commission and the IRS as someone having a net worth of $200,000 or more, or an income of $200,000 or more, or a net worth of $1 million or more. But there's also the new CF, part of the Job Act by Bill Clinton, or actually Job Act is Obama. Job Act that allows for non-accredited investors to invest in pool, and then those pool gets flipped into real estate projects. 3 to 5 years later, they get their money back plus the return. So it's basically a set it and forget it kind of strategy. And then, of course, you can do the stock market and invest in the REITs, real estate investment trust. The issue with that is that there's a volatility in the stock market. The buy and hold strategy, the issues with that is that you typically need to put 10 to 40% down for investors. Even if you're putting a 5%, the cost of closing is about 5 to 10%. So you're looking at 10 to 40% as a down payment before you even hold the property. There are long-term commitments, they're not liquid, and then they can weather the real estate cycles. Tenants provide a consistent monthly cash flow, but that cash flow is more consistent on the commercial side than on the residential side. Commercial lease tends to be longer, right? And then there's the benefits of long-term appreciation, tax write-off and depreciation, and a couple of other things we can go further into detail. Joint venture, you fund an active investors, and then you get a nice return because the active investor is active in the real estate. That means he's in it to flip the investment by leverage, trying to double the money or triple the money and things of that nature. It's created it as a partnership, and you are the limited partner, he's the general partner. The good thing about that is that if there are any issues, lawsuits and things like that, you, the limited partner, are exposed to your capital investment. So you can't, it's very difficult for them to pierce that limited partnership to reach you, the investors. Make sure that you check to have someone that has a track record before you invest with the person. And then, of course, the syndication. Some syndication starts with $1,000. It's scalable. You can add money as you go along. You can see the returns fairly quickly, depending what syndication you select. It is secured by that real estate, and you have your name in the LLC or the entity that you're investing in. It is governed or regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So if something goes wrong, you have an authority or an agency that you can complain to. It's an active process of sharing the financial risks, but also the benefits. That's basically what a syndication is. Here's some of our one of our syndication actually, because this one is not a syndication course, but here's an example of one of our syndications. All right. So we did a project in Roxbury, Massachusetts. We bought a building for $771. It was a 3-unit. We spent $150,000 raising so that we can inject into the building. We rehabbed the building. We sold the units individual as a condo conversion for of $500,000 each. That means that for every $1 that our investor put in, they got $2 back, and this project took us 6 months. So we raised $150,000. We paid out 300 grand in a span of 6 months. So what does this look like? So an investor that is, I think you probably all heard the power of compounding, right? An investor that takes $1,000 and invests it into a project that gets 2 grand back in 1 year, and then reinvest the 2 grand and then get 4 grand back at the end of the year. If they follow these steps in 4 years, they can see $190,000 in their account. The trick here is to find someone that can do this consistently for 4 years. But with $1,000, you can see your money grow to $190,000 literally in 4 years. Isn't that cool? So the power of compound. The other power of compound is that as you invest and that money is growing, you can add more to this. You can add more to this. All right. So this is very, very powerful. So if I can share with you guys how we are putting together a new syndication. I'm not seeing everybody's chat, but I probably should. Is this something that you guys would be interested in? Yeah. So we do have a syndication together. We have one for regulation CF, and we have one for regulation D. Regulation D is geared toward accredited investor. Regulation CF is for the non-accredited investors. Non-accredited investors simply means that you can start your investment with $1,000 or $2,000 and then move up, taking your time, mitigating your risk, watching your investment doubles every couple of months or every year or something along those lines. And you can see yourself going really quickly to $10,000 or $15,000 a month as you add your investments. The other one, Regulation D, is for accredited investors. Those ones require a minimum investment of $5,000 or higher, but those ones, because they are a larger pool of money, they tend to return a 15 to 20% return, because you have to find the proper deals to put those kinds of capital in, because the first job of a good syndicator is asset protection, is capital protection. So they don't want to put money into bad deals and then the deals go bad and then you lose your invested capital. I mean, that is true for both scenarios, but it's much easier to double a small amount than it is to double a large amount. So that's what that is. So if you are someone that typically do not have the 20 to 25% down payment, but you're still interested in investing in real estate, syndication can be great for you. If you're a busy individual, you have 100 things to do left and right, syndication is also for you, because you're just putting your money, forgetting it, and waiting for 6 months, 12 months to get your money back. If you lack the knowledge, the expertise, and you want to see your money grow instead of putting it in a savings account that pays you 1% or less, syndication is an awesome thing for you. And also builds your net worth so that you can get into the Regulation D or the Regulations A for accredited investors. If you are an experienced investor, you can also get into these deals. The ones that are looking for the experience can get into syndications where it is tied into knowing what the syndicator is doing, what the general partner is doing. You can do that. So if you are fed up with the volatility of rates, syndication tends to be more stable. So if you're an accredited investor, you can also pool a larger sum of money and partner with someone that has the experience and then watch them do the transactions. You can invest in syndication with crypto. Yes, you can. So, however, because you can't invest into real estate tying crypto, the crypto has to be changed into fiat, and then the real estate transaction is acquired. And then once the transaction grows higher, you can then pay the dividends, convert the dividends into crypto, and then send it across the globe through the blockchain. So you could do that. Absolutely. Good question, Cheryl. So let me see what else. So Securities Exchange Commission, basically they're the federal government agency that regulates a lot of these scenarios. And we have two syndication. One is Mansour X2, one is Mansour X. And both of them are accredited by the Securities Exchange Commission. So this is our SIC number and the approval. So we are regulated by the Securities Exchange Commission. So we do have one project in Massachusetts, in Boston, Massachusetts, where we have $1.2 million that we need to acquire the building for, and we're going to raise $250,000 in the next 30 days to do the project in about 6 months. And we anticipate of having a return of minimum of 2 to 1, but we hope to do 3 to 1 to our investors, because we hope to return $750,000 to our investors. So a minimum of 2 to 1 in less than 6 months is what we're promising on our syndication. But that project is not listed on the Mansour or Mansour X. So if people in this chat or in this group are interested in investing in this project, for instance, we will have a link at the end where they can connect with us, so we can give them the private placement memorandum or all the particular information, so that they can follow us. Oh, did I say that we just started the YouTube channel? So you guys should go and sign up so that you can learn a lot of these things in there, because that one usually is not time restrained to 30 minutes. So when you invest in a syndication with us, your capital is secured by the property. So as long as we have the property, your money is tied into it. The moment we flip the property, our attorney by law are required to take the money out and start dividing and paying out the investors. We also reserve the right to buy the shares of our investors through the rental income. So if someone comes to us in month number 3 and say, something came up, an emergency, I need some of my money back, or I need all of my money back, because all the property project that we do, we tend to rent them as soon as we can, we're able to take money from the rental to buy their share. So that's really cool and different and unique from other syndications. So let me see. I don't think I need to spend time with this, but typically the syndications are firms where we partner with people and we do all these kinds of scenarios. So these are the different types of tracks that we're going to be using. So for the accredited investors, we're raising 250 grand so they can invest up to $150,000. For the non-accredited investors, those people are capped by the government, not by us, but they cannot invest more than $5,000 in a single 12-month period or cycle or a year or whatever. So we have the starter, which is $1,000, $2,500, and a little less than 5 grand. But once you reach 5 grand, you're considered an accredited investor, and you need to have an income of $200,000 to invest in that pool. So you can always schedule a meeting with us to make sure that you can qualify and figure out how we can help you guys with this. Now, since I did this presentation literally in 20 minutes, which is a record for me, and we still have a bunch of people in the room, let me answer questions. Let me talk about some stuff. As a matter of fact, Hector, can you allow everyone to speak? Let's allow all the attendees to speak so we can have all the questions answered and everything we can talk about, if that's okay. Since we have like 7 minutes to chat and I'm done with our PowerPoint.
The fact is that we have a very diverse community, and so that collection reflects it.
Hi, everybody. It's really weird to do a webinar where it's different than a Zoom call or in like a meeting where, because everyone is so, it almost feels like I'm talking to myself. So what questions can I ask? What questions can I answer? What are your thoughts? What are your, yes, Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, I had a question. Looking at the list that you went over, the type of ways to invest, you mentioned the wholesaling, but you didn't really go into detail. Is that something that you really not focused on in this particular meeting?
Yes, so we can talk about wholesaling briefly, but I don't spend a lot of time talking about wholesaling because my personal feeling is that people that do wholesaling tend to leave a lot of money on the table. The
Mhm.
true job of a real estate investor is to capture the maximum value on a real estate transaction. So if you are an experienced real estate investor, you don't tend to do wholesaling because you know the value in it. So for instance, me as an investor, I rarely ever sell properties. I've had properties that I've owned since I was 19 years old. So if I come across a good deal, I'm not wholesaling it.
Okay.
Does that make sense? But for people that are starting out brand new, they don't have a good savings account, they don't have, and they want to build their war chest to do real estate in the near future, or they
Mhm.
need to work on their credit, wholesaling is a beautiful thing because what you're doing is essentially coming together between a desperate seller and a time crunched investor, and you're getting the spread between the two transactions.
Mhm.
So in order for you to do that, you have to find good deals. But wholesaling is also a really good place for you to learn how to find good deals, right?
Yeah.
Because you
Right.
have to hustle. But because I've always started real estate investment by buying and hold, by buying and renting it out, because I'm looking for that passive cash flow. I want to buy, rent it, increase my cash flow to allow me to qualify for larger loans, to larger deals. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So, but wholesalers are awesome. I mean, they bring me a lot of good deals. Other questions?
You feel like you may be getting the flu. One of the kids has a cough and the other has a fever.
So here's a question on the chat. The other question is, which one is better? Regular rental or short-term rental? I think short-term rental tends to be better because they pay a higher dividend and you're not locked into a long-term lease. Whereas regular tenants, the return tends to be a little bit lower, but you're tied into a long-term lease. And it's much more difficult, especially places like Massachusetts, New York. It's incredibly difficult to kick a tenant out. So I tend to gear towards short-term tenants, and I have a team that take care of the Airbnb. That's another question. Other questions, don't be shy. So let me see, there's a chat. Let me see. So will it cash flow out? Yes. So when we buy properties, we tend to buy properties that either have a tenant or that we can put a tenant really fast. And even if we're doing a condo conversion, for instance, which is one of the projects that we're doing, we are doing condo conversions with tenants in place because there's a high chance that the person who's going to buy it is going to be buying it as an investment. But if they're buying it as an owner occupant, then they can ask the tenant to move out. And then, but everything that we buy, we make sure that it cash flows out. Otherwise, we don't buy, because the value of an investment property is based on the net operating income. So when we are looking at buying properties, we always do the valuation of a cap rate over the net operating income to make sure that the value is there. And that's how we're able to convince the lenders, because we don't want the lenders to look at our income to qualify the property and qualify us to buy the property. We want to make sure that when the banks are looking at the project, that 70 or 75% of the income that comes into the building is sufficient for the debt service coverage ratio. So the debt service coverage ratio needs to be 1.2 or higher. So we make sure that it cash flows out. Other questions? We have like 2 more minutes. Everybody's still here. Awesome. One last question that I can answer. So there is a button on the bottom. I don't know if there's a button on the bottom that you guys can let me know if this was good or thumbs up kind of thing, like feedback, thoughts, comments, anything. Carolyn. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, I wanted to ask a question. I had found a property and it needs a little work. They're asking way too much for it, but I didn't know the next steps. I mean, I know the people, and I'm not sure where to go with trying to get an investor because it needs some work done. And I just wanted to know, I don't even know where to look for an honest investor.
So Carolyn, let me ask a couple of questions if you don't mind. You said the property is overpriced. You said that the property needs work
Yes,
and you don't have all the capital for the project.
no.
Then why are you buying it?
Well, I was considering,
Okay.
just
I
consider.
mean, is it cash flow positive? If you get the debt, is the tenant, does it have a tenant? Is the tenant going to pay the debt?
No, it's up for sale.
It's just on the right, and you know the people that are selling it?
Yes.
Did you ask for a discount?
Well, they have went down on it. I didn't ask, but they did go down on it. It's still too high. It's just like one bedroom, kitchen, living room, and a bathroom. And they're asking almost $300,000 for it.
Okay, but you really want the property, huh? Yeah.
Not for me. I was just wanting to try
So,
to get my foot in the door as a investor.
but here's the problem. Getting your foot in the door as an investor, you have to be careful if it's your first property, because the first investment is probably the most important one. If you make the wrong move, you're going to be kicked out of the investment world forever kind of scenario. Even if you get money in the future, you're going to have a bad taste in real estate that you're not going to want to invest in real estate in the future. That's the reason why the first deal is really critical. However, it is not, if you have the holding power, there's never such thing as too expensive or a bad real estate deal, because 10 years from now, you're going to be happy that you bought this property for 300 grand, or 20 years from now, you're going to be happy you bought this property for 300 grand. But the issue is that if you're not ready financially, emotionally, physically, and all the other things, and you buy this property right now, and then a recession happens tomorrow, and you can't hold on to it, you're going to kick yourself for buying it. So here's what I would do. First thing is that if the project is too expensive, I would ask for a discount if I really wanted it. But discount is not the most important thing. It's not the only thing. The second thing you can do is ask the sellers, because if they really want to clear the 300,000, maybe they don't want to clear all of it at the same time. So offer a small percentage up front and then ask them to finance the building at 0 interest or low interest or something like that, because the lenders today, interest rate is 7%, 8%. So you can literally go, since you know the seller, you can go to them and say, I'm interested in buying your property. Do you think I could give you 5% or something like that? And then you become my bank and finance my property. Every month, I'll pay you my mortgage payment. In 4 or 5 years, you'll build, hopefully, I'm not guaranteeing, hopefully you'll build enough equity that you can refinance the property under your name because you've paid down the property for 4 years. You could do that.
Okay.
But I don't know. But my fear is that if the property is too expensive and you don't have the capital, if you bring in investors, where's the room for the profit of the investor?
Okay.
That's the question that you have to, like, if it's too expensive, like any investor you bring in is going to want to be in the project maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years. But then at the end of that 1 year, 2 years, what's in it for them? What's their profit margin? If it's already overpriced, there's no profit margin for them.
Okay.
That's what it sounds like to me. So look for another deal. If they say no, look, the beautiful thing about real estate is that things are slowing down, interest rates are going up. There's going to be a lot of opportunities. So build your war chest. If you really want to get into real estate and you have the capital, do a syndication once or twice. You know? I don't know. I think buying something that's overpriced with an investor might be setting yourself for some reality check in the near future. If the property was a good deal, like say you are buying at 20-30% below market, then you say, I'm looking for an investor. And then when we sell the property in a year, or when we refinance the property in a year, I will make the investor 10-20% on the actual property. Then that's a compelling reason for an investor to join you, right? But if it's already overpriced and it's a 1-bedroom that doesn't give you a lot of hacking ability, like you can't do room hacking, you need like at least 3-bedroom or more for that. You can't, there's no tenant in the place, so there's no cash flow. And then you don't have all the cash. You buy the property and the first thing that happens, the roof leaks or the furnace needs to be fixed, or you have to pay real estate tax or real estate insurance, something goes bad, you are going to have some obstacle. So if you have cash, instead of doing all of this, if you're not ready, perhaps do a syndication. We are offering a real estate investor class January. It's like the regular price, like $2,500, but until I think November 14th or something like that, the price is like $900. In that real estate class, we're going to spend 6 months with 100 people, teaching them how to do all the real estate projects. And we're going to help them look for deals, and we're going to put deals in front of them they can participate and invest with. That should be something that you can look into. The cool thing about it is that we're going to build a Discord channel where other people are going to be there. Some of them are going to have capital, other ones are going to have deals, and build partnerships so that you guys can invest together. We're putting that class together now. We're going through all the curriculums. We literally just put up the landing page for people to subscribe and sign up for it and pay the money. So that's on our website /investor, and Hector can put that link on the thing. So if you guys sign up for that, you'll get more than 50% discount for the registration of it. And we're going to spend 6 months teaching people how to invest in real estate. But that course is purely for real estate investors, not for sales, not for brokers. It's not a license, it's a purely educational course for investors. So we're putting that together, and we're going to start teaching that in January. So, but I would definitely be cautious on investing in something that is overpriced and bring an investor to that deal. Do you already own a house? Do you own a house now?
No, I don't.
So what did you try to do an owner occupant instead of doing investment, try to do owner occupant acquisition, like through like FHA or something like that?
No, I didn't. See, I'm just really getting started.
So if
trying to
you're
get
getting,
started.
the other thing I want to say also, if you're getting really started and you don't have any other property, depending on where you live, you should probably start buying a multifamily first before you buy a single family or condo.
Okay.
Multifamily, you can use the rental income from other units to supplement your income so you can qualify for a larger loan. And you can rent and look for multifamily that has as many rooms as you can, so that if you rent the apartment, cool. If you rent the rooms out, you might even make more. And if you don't have tenants, you can do Airbnb or VRBO or something like that. But it's incredibly difficult for a mortgage company to give you a loan to buy an investment property that is 2 or 3 units after you own a single family house, because it reduces your debt to income ratio.
Okay.
But if you don't have a property and you're buying a multifamily, you don't have a debt income ratio that impacts you negatively when you're buying the multifamily. So then when you decide to go buy the single family after you own the multifamily, the rental income from both units, whether it's 2 or whether it's 3 units, now supplements your income so you can buy a better, bigger single family down the line, because it counts towards your income.
Okay, that's understandable. I
Yeah,
understand what you're
So if
saying.
it's your first house, unless you're gonna live in it, if it's an investment purpose, I don't know what state you're in, but in the mid-Atlantic in New England, there's a lot of multi-unit, like 2, 3, 4 units that are available on the market, and you can just buy those.
Okay. Well, we don't have a lot of that here, but I think it's probably coming. I'm in Tennessee, so
Okay, but Tennessee has duplex and triplex.
yeah, they do in certain areas. Uh-huh. You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
I'll
I've been to Nashville a couple of times, so I
oh,
know.
you have? Wow. Okay.
Home of FedEx, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So any other questions before I let you guys go? I kept you guys longer than I wanted to, but should I take one last question? Everybody's good to go, everything?
I'm good.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I really appreciate everybody joining my starting out. Should you partner up first? It depends on your capital. It depends on your knowledge, your capital, and your time is what should determine whether you should partner with someone or not, regardless of whether you're doing it for beginning or you're doing it for the 100th time. That's really my answer to that. If you have time and you have the money, partnership doesn't bring a lot of value. Then you go and you learn everything you need and then you do the project. But if you don't have the knowledge and someone else can bring the knowledge, partnership is awesome. If you don't have the capital, but you have the knowledge, or you don't have the capital, you don't have the knowledge, but you have the time, you can partner up with someone that has the knowledge and the capital and is just looking for someone that's going to do the running around. That would bring value to someone. So that's the answer to that. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. I hope to see you guys soon. And please go and subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Thank you.
See you guys later. Thank you. I hope you guys learned something.